Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is sleep. Let's take a look at some of the meanings or definitions for this verb. The first way we use the verb sleep is to mean to rest by sleeping. So think about at night, eyes closed, you're not awake. Right? The second way we use this verb sleep is to mean to provide a certain number of people with beds or a place to stay the night. One of my example sentences later will use this particular definition. A third way we use the verb sleep is to mean to be inactive. It's probably most common, though, that you're going to hear this verb used with the first definition, to rest by sleeping. Sleep is an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, we're going to add ing to make sleeping. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are the same. It's pronounced slept. Slept. Next, let's take a look at some phrasal verbs that use the verb sleep. The first one we'll look at is to sleep in. Its meaning is to remain asleep in bed until later than usual. Let's take a look at an example sentence. During the week, I get up at 6 a.m., but on Saturdays, I sleep in until 8 a.m. So, what this sentence is suggesting is that 6 a.m. is usually the time the person wakes up or stops sleeping. But on Saturdays, they stay asleep in bed until a later time, in this case, 8 a.m. Another phrasal verb you might hear is sleep over, and its meaning is to spend the night at someone else's house. This phrasal verb becomes really popular with kids. It's pretty common for younger children into middle school, high schools to want to sleep over at their friend's house. So here's an example of that. Do you mind if I sleep over at Amy's tonight? You might imagine one child is asking about staying at her friend's house. Another phrasal verb you might hear is to sleep on something. It means to delay making a decision until the next day. Here's an example of that. You don't have to say anything now. Sleep on it and we'll talk tomorrow. So again, this is giving the person time to think about or think over this decision until the next day. Another phrasal verb you might hear is to sleep through. Generally, something comes after that, and it means to sleep without being awakened by a particular noise or event. Here's an example sentence. I slept through my alarm yesterday. So someone continued sleeping even though maybe there was a beeping trying to alert the person that it was time to wake up. Let's continue practicing using our verb sleep in some different tenses. Today, we'll look at simple past tense, present perfect, and present progressive. Let's start with the past tense. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that was completed at a definite time in the past. So you'll usually see time signals like words such as yesterday, last week, last month, 3 years ago. All of those are signaling a definite time. To make a sentence in the affirmative in the simple past tense, we're going to use this irregular form of the verb, slept. And this is going to be true no matter what our subject is. Here's an example sentence. He slept during class yesterday. If I want to make a negative sentence in the simple past tense, I'm going to use did not and then the base verb. This is the same structure no matter what our subject is. Here's an example sentence. I didn't sleep well last night. If you want to make a yes or no question in the simple past, we're going to start with did, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Here's an example. Did you sleep in this weekend? Next, let's take a look at present perfect. We can use this verb tense to talk about an action that was completed in the past, but one that occurs at an indefinite time. So we don't know when it happened in the past. We just know that it happened at some point in the past. It could be last week, it could be several months or several years ago. It just might not be that important. We also use present perfect to talk about an action that was started in the past and it continues into the present. To make this verb tense, we're going to use have or has based on our subject, and then we'll use the participle form of our verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative sentence. I have slept through my alarm many times. If I want to make a sentence negative in the present perfect, I'm just going to insert not after have or has. Here's an example of that. She hasn't slept well since the storm. That would be the second way we use our present perfect. Something that started at a point in the past, it continues into the present. If I want to make a yes or no question in the present perfect, I'm going to start my sentence with have or has, then I'll have my subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Here's an example. Has the house slept 10 people before? So the meaning here of sleep in this particular sentence goes back to the second definition I mentioned of it earlier, providing enough space for 10 people to sleep. Finally, let's take a look at the present progressive. We use this verb tense to talk about actions that are in progress or an action that's happening right now. To make the present progressive, we're going to use a present form of be, that's am, is, or are, and then we'll use the progressive form or the ing form of the verb. Here is an affirmative example. The baby is still sleepy. That implies it's happening right now. To make a negative sentence in the present progressive, I'm going to insert not after my be verb. You might hear native speakers use contractions like aren't or isn't, but I always want to point out that there is no contraction for am not. So we'll always keep that two separate words. Let's look at an example of a negative present progressive sentence. The children aren't sleeping over on a school night. Finally, if I want to make a yes or no question in the present progressive, I'm going to start with my form of be that matches my subject, and then I'll have the ing form of the verb. Here's an example. Are they sleeping in a tent? Next, let's take a look at some words that are related to our verb sleep. And the first word we'll look at has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. It's just the noun form of this word. And you might guess that the noun form means the condition of being inactive with your eyes closed. So think, again, kind of the opposite. You are not awake or alert. Here's an example. I haven't gotten good sleep in a week. Another related word that you might hear is the adjective sleepy, and it means someone is needing or ready for sleep. Here's an example. I always feel sleepy after lunch. Another related adjective is asleep, and it means that you are in a state of sleep. Here's an example of that. The baby has been asleep for an hour. The next related word is a noun. It's sleeper. And it can have a couple different meanings. We'll look at two of them today that I think might be more common for you to hear. The first way we use this noun is to mean a person who sleeps in a specific way. Let's take a look at an example. He is a light sleeper. So it's really common with this noun sleeper to see the adjectives light or heavy. A light sleeper is someone who will wake up very easily. If there is the smallest or slightest noise, they will wake up from sleep. The opposite, a heavy sleeper, can continue sleeping no matter how much noise is being made in a room or a house or outside the house. A second way we use the noun sleeper is to mean pajamas for a baby. So maybe a particular outfit you might see a baby wear to go to sleep. And if you look here, I've included a couple pictures just so, again, it's always nice when I can show you something and you have a mental image of what that word means. So let's look at an example of that form of a noun in a sentence. We bought several sleepers for the new baby. And say a sleeper is a common baby gift because babies sleep quite a lot. The last word we're going to look at today relates back to one of the phrasal verbs we talked about earlier. It's sleep over. As a noun, we combine the two words, sleep and over. So this is a compound word. It's a noun that means an overnight stay at another's home. Here's an example of that. She wants to have a sleepover to celebrate her 11th birthday. And again, that might be kind of a common tradition for children's birthdays to have their friends sleep at their house to celebrate. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.